You're sticking your 100 miles.
Okay, let's start the meeting. Ready? Okay. We'll start the meeting by reading the acknowledgement, if we could. The town of Hinton respectfully acknowledges that it's located on the First Peoples traditional lands. We recognize this traditional territory to show respect and understanding to those who walk this land since time immemorial. Today, we uphold our ongoing responsibility to work together in the spirit of the intent of the treaties with all the First Peoples and nations that call this place home. The town expresses gratitude to the opportunity to build a better community on these sacred lands for generations to come. With that, I call the March 14th, 4 p.m. committee of the whole meeting in order. Adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hey, does somebody want to put a motion to adopt the agenda? Yes, please.
I move that we adopt the agenda for the committee of the whole meeting, March 14th, 2023.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, yeah, we use this, right? We're gonna vote on that on this thing here. Okay, that's unanimous. We can start the meeting. Now, and then we go to citizens minute with council. Is there anybody? Oh. Delegations and presentations. Oh, okay. Reports from administration, Erith Parklands and all-wheeled park update.
Through the chair, just before we get into the business, I'd just like to introduce two of our new employees for those who haven't met them. Two new employees in our planning and infrastructure side. We have Trent McLaughlin, who is our new director, and we have Victoria Jung, who is our new civil engineering technician.
Nice to meet everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to Hinton. Thank you for picking Hinton.
Thank you.
Been great so far. That administration area of the plans.
Thank you to the chair. I will turn this over to Ms. Wade.
Thank you, CAO, through to committee. This report is before you today as an update to the Erith Parklands, as well as the previous proposed wheeled park project that you saw in 2021. So in 2021, council received a presentation from the Hinton Wheeled Park Association, as well as New Line, regarding a concept for redesign of some of the space in that park. Ultimately, they were looking for something that's a little bit more inclusive. As you know, our current skate park is quite advanced, and this was to be used as an accessible space, but also as a learning opportunity for many of our youth and others. At that time, council secured the land at Erith Park for a period of 48 months, and that was done to assist the group in securing in-kind donations and any grant funding that they may have needed to move the project forward. And while the 48 months has not yet passed, unfortunately, we did recently receive communication from the president of the Hinton Wheeled Park Association, stating that just due to some personal reasons, he's dismantling the group and will not be proceeding with the project at this time. The amenities at Erith Park have been due to be replaced, and we put that refurbishment, I suppose, on hold to try to kind of do a bit of an economy of scale when dealing with the redesign of that entire area. However, at this time, given that change, we need to kind of pivot, and ultimately administration is just looking for direction from committee this evening in order to begin the phases of engagement to determine what kind of amenities would be best suited for that location. However, I will say that we still endeavor to kind of honor the vision that was put forward by the Hinton Wheeled Park Association. And at this time, I can take any questions. Thanks.
For questions from council. Councilor Race.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What is the difference between a neighborhood park and a community park?
Thank you. Excellent question. Through to committee. Within Post, a neighborhood park currently serves only the adjacent neighborhood. So we think of parks like Alder Park, Nickerson. There are smaller parks. Typically, they have like a playground in it, maybe a couple seating features. Whereas a community park is really designed to serve the community as a whole. It becomes much more of a destination location.
Thank you. One more question. When you say you would like to move ahead with the revision, what do you mean by that?
Thank you. So they had presented, as I mentioned, a wheeled park that would be accessible to individuals potentially in wheelchairs or those who wish to use a scooter as opposed to the traditional skateboard. You can also do rollerblades, roller skating, those kinds of things, so more people can enjoy the space. Again, it was intended to be a location that, yes, while technically skate park, it had included public art in the space, gathering spaces. And because quite a bit of work was done with New Line, we've retained some of that information. So it seems a bit of a waste to not determine whether that's palatable to the community.
So quick follow-up, please. So are you saying the skate park maybe?
It would certainly be an option for the area. There's quite a large space. Whether it materializes into being as grandiose as they had anticipated, I think something on that end of town would be suitable.
Thank you.
Councilor McGowan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just curious, as far as the public engagement piece goes, is there an approximate timeline for that?
The timeline would be prior to our preparations for the OBCs for 2024, capital project plans and operating business cases.
Thank you.
Mayor Michaels?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On that note, is it administration's intent to bring a detailed business plan, or will there be, I guess, an opportunity for this to come before council prior to maybe seek different direction? Like, what's the intent, I guess, for the end of third quarter 2023?
So the intent at this time would be to understand what the drivers from the community might be, and use the new engagement tools that we have through our comms department to really design that space. And then at that time to, depending on what we're hearing, if it's really out of left field, bring that back at a little buy-in from council, a little feedback, and then from there build out our plans. Capital business plans.
Thank you.
Councilor McGowan?
Move that committee accepts the update on the Hinton Wheel Park Association proposal for Erith Park and directs administration to seek public input on a future redesign of Erith Park.
We'll just wait till it gets up there. While we're waiting, are there any comments or questions on that? Oh, here it is. Does that read the way you would like it?
Yep.
Okay, if there's no comments or questions, we'll vote for or against starting now, please. And we're going to vote as council accepts the update on the Hinton All-Wheel Park Association proposal for Erith Park and directs administration to seek public input on a future redesign of Erith Park. Thank you. That's carried 4-0. Any other comments or questions on that topic? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Draft one-off financial requests policy. Administration.
Thank you through the chair to the rest of council. I will keep this very brief unless Ms. Juke would like to add any comments, but we had brought this forward at the previous committee of the whole meeting. We discussed it at length. There was 5 consensus that council wanted to shape the policy. That has been included on the first page of the RFD of this report. If there's any other questions, we'd be happy to answer. All of the consensus and from the committee of the whole originally have been incorporated into this draft document. If council is happy with the policy, we would be seeking direction for committee to refer this to the regular meeting of council for debate and hopefully adoption.
Comments or questions? Councilor Hawes?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious, if it were to come back to council for decision, are the forms, the request forms, submission forms and information. There was another form. Would those be included with the RFD, or would that be still something that would be crafted at another time?
Thank you, CEO Bassett, and to the rest of the committee. Those would be developed prior to the RFD and attached in the policy. You would see the whole policy.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Barge.
Just a quick comment, I guess, on page 14. In the second box there, 0.1 CAO approves in kind under 750, that amount just wasn't changed. It looks like this is gonna be an appendix to it, so if that could be changed, and then. That said, I would like to make a motion. That committee of the whole directs administration to return the attached draft one-off financial requests policy to a future council meeting as presented. Or as amended, I guess. You tell me.
Okay, comments or questions?
Just a clarifying question, sorry. Councilor-
It's the process map at the back, but it seems like it's going to be appendix C, it says.
Uh-huh.
And the second box there, 0.1. That amount should be 750, not $500 is all.
Thank you.
I had a question to administration. 414, under responsibilities for council. Should it really be responsibilities for council, or should it be responsibilities for administration? Consideration as to whether the request should be reasonably be known and submitted to the community grant intake and or approved civic agency request. And whether the request can be postponed until the next community grant intake. So I see that as administration, something administration would assess and then advise us. Something council would assess.
Through the chair to the rest of council, administration can certainly include that into the report going forward to council, but we do think that it's council to consider whether or not it could have been reasonably been known at that time, and whether council may or may not want to fund them because of that reason. So it would be ultimately a council call. It is a consideration. There was a couple different places we could have put this clause. It was included in there because we'll say the responsibility for council to redirect them to other grants. Other grant funds through the town was included in that section as well, so we thought we'd keep it consistent.
Okay. It's okay as long as we're kind of advised on that. Certainly, Councilor Ostache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I saw that too, but I felt it wasn't the appropriate place considering the motion from committee that came forward previously said to add a clause that council may take into consideration whether the request could have been reasonably known. So I feel it wound up in the right place, but I do agree that a recommendation from administration when it comes to council would be helpful for sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, now did Councilor Barge make a motion that we're going to vote on? Is that better? Does that read the way you'd like it to read?
I love it.
Okay, now are we going to vote on it in this thing? Okay, any comments or questions on this before we vote on it? Councilor Magoo?
Sorry, and just to seek clarification about the question that Councillor Labarge presented. So as the direction is seen on our screens as presented, that captures that correction on the process flow chart.
Through the chair, the members of council, yeah, if that's a housekeeping item, that certainly will be changed prior to coming to council.
Perfect. Thanks. That's it.
Okay, that we're gonna vote on whether that the committee directs administration to return the attached draft one-off financial request policy to a future council meeting as presented. Please vote for or against. That's 7 for and 0 against. Thank you. Is there any more comments or questions on that? Okay, board and committee, council reports, starting with, Albert, as councilor Rostash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So only thing I have to report on is that we've had a Beaver Boardwalk Oversight Committee meeting on March 8th. Sorry, apologies. On March 8th, and a couple items that came up through the meeting that would be of interest to council. Committee adopted boardwalk pilings and decking specification criteria. So it's kind of a standard design for future boardwalk design for pilings, decking. So that it can be used to develop RFPs, RFQs, tenders, and kind of have some standard specifications for the types of pilings and the type of boardwalk and width and stuff like that. That's going to be added to. Is this way still here? Yes.
Parks, open spaces and trails master, that's an appendix.
So as an appendix to the parks, open spaces and trails master plan. So it can be referred to in the future when RFQs or RFPs and tenders are developed. The other thing that's of interest to council, which I believe they're already aware, as there was a notice that went out. But the construction for the Maxwell Lake Bridge ramp project should be starting tomorrow.
Nice.
And that's all I've got to report, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Barge,
I have nothing to report, Mr. Chair.
excellent. Councilor Hawes.
I have nothing to report, but I do want to ask a question in regards to the BBOC committee. I'm just curious. We have the volunteer evening coming up and we still have what, one or two positions, or one position available on that? Is that something that we're gonna do as a town to see if we can muster up another volunteer for that committee?
Through the chair, Miss Way is nodding that we will be seeking volunteers for that.
Okay, great. Other than that, I have nothing to report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Ray,
Nothing to report, sir.
Mayor Michael,
Nothing to report.
Councilor Newland,
Hidden policing committee meeting tomorrow. That's it.
and Councilor Taylor. Nothing to report. CAO.
Thank you through the chair. Instead of doing my regular verbal report at the first committee meeting, I have taken the liberty of writing that down and providing that just simply as a desk job for the rest of council. That has been emailed out as well. In the future, this report will be included in the package, but I thought it was a very long report, and I didn't think that everyone wanted to sit here and listen to me drone on all of these different items. The one thing that we don't have in here that I will mention is that there is the Battle of the Badges happening this weekend, March 18th from 7 to 9 p.m. where our fire department will be playing a hockey game against the RCMP members.
Any bad smack?
Yes, thanks for that question. The RCMP actually have a fighting chance this year. They never won it at the Battle of the Badges against before. Our goalie is our deputy fire chief. We used to play goal. He's 12 years old.
Even though you guys are still playing hockey, fires will still be put out and crime will still be stopped.
There's a duty crew on that.
Excellent, thank you. Councilor March.
And I do have a question that comes out of that. Remind me, the resiliency grant for 80,000, what was that for? You said at February 28th, Cal meeting.
Development institute, and as you took to the check to Councilor Lodge, what that is 80,000 will contain a study and in conjunction with the town of municipality of Jasper to look at our fire readiness, the collaboration that can happen there, our stormwater readiness in terms of climate change. We'll have stakeholder engagement with communities, what they are experiencing, what they think we should be looking at. So we have awarded that contract just a couple of days ago in terms of doing that stakeholder engagement. And then looking at our readiness in the event of should we have a basket of us, banks break, what would be the impact of that, what would be our mitigating measures and all those types of things would come back. So what that report would do and the study is going to do is going to inform future granting requirements that we could go after, because now we have a baseline in terms of anything that could relate to stormwater, backups, all these type of things that we're beginning to see becoming part of our communities and adjacent communities as well.
Thank you. That's a lot. I must have been sleeping on the 28th.
Likely so.
Okay, Councillor Race.
Thank you, sir, very much. I have a question for our CAO. In regards to the e-bike bylaw, it says it's ready to include with the traffic bylaw. Now, I think that bylaw is not coming back to us until June. So we wait till June. And then-
There's through the chair, all of those regulations will be coming forward at the same time, built into the traffic bylaw.
Thank you. Good.
Okay, that's it for your report and the status report. Okay, then we have something called closed session. Mayor Michaels,
I'll move to go in closed session.
okay, all those in favor? Those opposed? Now closed session.